In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about suspending disbelief in yourself and allowing yourself the opportunity to exceed your expectations. If you're approaching your first Ironman triathlon, or even it's your second, or you're just new to the sport, your first marathon, whatever it is, anyone who's being honest enough with themselves will tell you that at the very beginning of our journey in this sport, in whatever you're trying to pursue, if you have a goal that seems just out of reach for yourself, doubt can very quickly and very easily sink in. And oftentimes, the difference between somebody succeeding their goal and just being another person who wanted to do something for a while and never got to it is their ability to suspend disbelief in themselves long enough for them to keep marching forward past that disbelief and straight across the finish line, literally and figuratively. In my own experience, during my first Ironman triathlon, I was coming back from a pretty significant knee injury that left me unable to walk for quite a while. And once I was finally at the point where I was able to start jogging again and cycling again and swimming again, not without pain, but without so much pain that I felt like I was doing damage to myself, I fully resolved myself that this would be the year that I was fully committed and would get this race done. Even if I couldn't physically finish the race, I would at least get myself to the starting line, and this would be the year that I made my attempt. Because prior to this, dealing with this injury, I had to defer my race twice, 2020 and 2021. So the first time I even attempted my Ironman triathlon was 2022. And that training season was probably the most painful 8 months that I've ever experienced. And despite all that pain and not having formal coaching and not really having a legitimate training plan to work off of, I found myself in the Olympic Village in upstate New York, Lake Placid, locking myself in an Airbnb and just spending a whole weekend before this race thinking, writing, going out to eat and enjoying nature, but in complete solitude, um, trying to mentally fortify myself enough for this race. I was a nervous wreck. I didn't feel good. Um, the family that I have that did come up to support, which was quite a bit of them, saw me for one day at lunch, and I was actually like so nervous I was pretty much hardly talking. Like everybody was up there to support me and everybody's like in a good mood and saying like how excited they are and how proud and all this. And there I was just sitting kind of in my own little world, like listening to people like nodding like yep, yep, can't wait. And then as soon as that dinner ended, I disappeared again for the rest of the day and the next day. And then that Sunday morning, I showed up to the starting line after spending many, many hours just writing and thinking, sitting, meditating. The only thing I could come up with through all the positive affirmations and fear setting and goal setting of the days prior was no matter what happens on the course or no matter how much pain I'm in, I'm not going to allow myself to stop, and I'm just going to keep going until somebody pulls me off that course. Basically telling myself that despite how dark my mind gets, despite how painful my body gets, I'm gonna give myself the best chance I have at finishing by just continuing to push forward. And my mind went through some pretty wild ups and downs, especially at the marathon portion at the end, because pretty much the last, I want to say, 3 hours of my race was in complete darkness. And this could be an exaggeration, but I finished so close to midnight um, that I was basically one of the last people to finish the race that year. And, I could check the records because everything is public and online for races like this. But I finished in 11 hours and 38 minutes out of, sorry, geez, brain fart. 16 hours and 38 minutes. If it was an 11-hour, 38-minute, I'd be much happier telling the story, and my goals would be completely different this year. 16 hours and 38 minutes, which is 22 minutes from the course closing. So, in other words, I was 22 minutes away from the cutoff of this race. And when I tell you, I did not stop despite being in excruciating pain and walking and jogging. And I was at the point where my injured knee was in excruciating pain, and my good knee, which wasn't that good, started hurting me at mile 80 on the bike. So every single step of my marathon in this race hurt a lot. And it got to the point where my mind, I was saying, there's no way that I'm going to finish. There's no way I have any time at all. Like, my brain couldn't comprehend the numbers and the math behind where I was and where I stood in relation to how far I've gone. My Apple Watch died halfway through the bike. I had no sense of time, distance, nothing. I was completely just in the dark, literally and figuratively. And like I said in my mind before I even started that race, I just kept walking forward, kept jogging forward. When I was in too much pain, all I told myself was walk a street light, jog a street light, walk a street light, and I just segmented my run like that. Well, spoiler alert, and obviously I crossed that finish line still in excruciating pain, like on the verge of collapsing. Did not feel good at all physically, but I completed the race, and despite being completely physically unready for a race like this, I finished. And if you were to ask me, and many people did ask me leading into that race how I thought I was going to do, it was not positive. And there was so much disbelief that I needed that weekend to fortify my mind and to make myself think my way into being able to even approach this race. Fast forward, 2 days, and there I was, a first time Ironman finisher, and I proved myself wrong. And I proved myself right too. But I proved myself wrong in constantly saying that I wasn't ready for a race like this, that I there's no way I can do it with the type of injury that I had. My knee was in too much pain to get something like this done. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't good for my body. Even if my knee can hold out, I didn't get enough training in or quality training because of the injury. So there was no way that I was going to finish. Yet I still finished. So this isn't a story to just pat myself on the back and say, like, I did it despite all these odds that I had stacked against me, and even odds that I may have stacked against myself mentally. But just so you know that no matter who you are or at what point in the journey you're in, there's going to be a significant amount of evidence for why you can't do something. But if you allow yourself to suspend that thought and just push forward anyway and give it your best shot, that evidence will mean absolutely nothing, because odds are you're opening yourself up to an opportunity to surprise yourself and to really make yourself proud. So I'll end the video with that. And as always, I have a link in my description below for the Ironman Mastery Training Program. If you are interested, then please click that link and check it out. It's only like $30. So uh, definitely cheap for what you're getting, which is my whole Ironman training plan from last season. And pretty much everything you need to know to approach your first Ironman triathlon. And I even, in thinking recently, because I am regularly updating this book and re-releasing it to people who've bought it, just, as a thank you. After this season of Ironman training, I'm also going to add this to the back of the book, just to, you know, allow you to grow and progress with me, because, you know, realistically, the plan that I have at the back is probably good for 99% of people, especially first timers. And it is scalable, and I do have a section in the book to show you how to scale it to yourself. But if you want to see how my training is growing and progressing over the years, then I'm just going to make sure to make that available. So have a good night. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.